So this is a fixture that I'm making to bend titanium sheet for plate armor for fat tire bikes. The sheet that you see there is 0.050, which is able to stop any nails or screws from getting through it. The alloy is grade 5 titanium. It's really hard. It has amazing irresistible properties, but it is a little hard to work with. Certainly hard to bend. So I'll make a video later of the fixture in use, bending the titanium sheet to a 2.5 inch radius. So the cup I decided to go with is number 12 for my Series 20 torch that requires a large gas lens, 3/32 tungsten. That's why I use such a big cup, so I get a lot of tungsten stick out. So now I'm going to tack weld the other side of that 1 inch rod onto the 5/8 plate. I hit it with a wire brush and got in there pretty well with some acetone on a rag. And I'm going to do an autogenous job here. Autogenous tacks. Make sure I get penetration in that thick and heavy material. So now I'm anxious to test this fixture that I'm using for bending the grade 5 titanium. This fixture is still very hot, but I like that because it'll heat up the titanium when I'm working with it. I've already tested at the end. I used this here to do a bend on the wings or on the extreme edges, which I'll demonstrate. So this is my 5-ton hydraulic press. I put the titanium in there, and then I'm going to put this on like that to get a good defined bend. And I'll try to hold the phone while I crank this. See what kind of a bend we get here. I'm just going to try a gradual bend first. And in this case, that titanium is really hot because I'm putting it on a fixture that I just welded, so it's really hot. So I could try this bend and see what I get there. I'll leave the camera running. This alloy of titanium really wants to spring back into the shape that it was to begin with. So I can work with that. I can definitely work with that. So what I'm going to do is probably try I'll try a larger circle. I'm going to try a larger pipe, see how that goes. So here I have a larger pipe. Again, this is the grade 5 alloy of titanium. This happens to be 050 sheet. And I'm just trying to bend it into a 2.5 inch radius. And I've built this fixture to see if I can get nice, consistent bends. So here's the pipe going down. And it's going to stop pretty soon because that's as far as it's going to go. So right now I have 3,000 pounds of pressure on there. And this is I guess it's a 2 inch pipe. So I will release this and see what kind of a bend that put on there. That's a very gradual bend. I would not be able to work with that. Well, maybe. Let's try it again. Okay, so this is an experiment. There's a really tough fixture that I've built, which is a 1 inch rod, 5/8 inch plate, both steel. I got it tacked, autogenous tacks. So it's going to stay in place. And I'm trying to bend this grade 5 titanium sheet into a 2.5 inch radius. And I'm using what I believe to be a 2 inch pipe, which is a very weak pipe. So I'm going to crank this all the way down, see if I can get the radius I want. If I can get the radius I want, I'll be done. Trying to film with one hand and crank with the other hand. Right now there's 3,000 pounds pressure. So I turned off the camera because it was shaking while I was filming it while I was pumping the hydraulic press. So I took the hydraulic pressure up to almost 5,000 PSI, and I got a nice bend, but I see that I'm completely abusing my pipe there. The fixture's holding up, that's good. So let's see what kind of a curve I got on my sheet. This grade 5 sheet always wants to bend back to where it was. So this pipe is scrap, and this curve is nice. I can probably work with that curve. I'll show you how I test it. I have this 4.5 inch pipe, which is, well actually that's a, yeah it is a 4.5 inch pipe. So let's see what kind of a curve we got here. This is the curve. I like it really well. So I'm going to use this fixture that I made, which is the fixture is really tough. Looks like the pipes aren't holding up. I'm going to use this fixture to get that curve. And I said earlier I was looking for a 2.5 inch radius, and I'm laying this on the outside of a 4.5 inch OD pipe. So it looks like what I'm going to get if I get around that pipe and match the outer curve of the pipe is a curvature with a 2.25 inch radius. So let me try my fixture and see if I can match that curve perfectly. So I found another piece of 2 inch pipe. This pipe was in one of the California wildfires, which would be expected to contaminate the titanium sheet with steel. So I'm just doing an experiment to see if I can get the radius I want. And when I do the actual production pieces, I won't allow the steel to contact the titanium. So let's see what kind of a curve we get here. I'm thinking about going down to the steel yard and getting some 2 inch rod. Shaking the camera as I pump. Makes for a terrible video. Okay, so now it's starting to, I cranked it to 3,400 PSI and it's starting to bend the pipe. So I've got the pipe which is curving the titanium, so let's see what kind of a radius that gives us. Might be serviceable. So I'll try it on my little proof here. That's gonna work, probably. I'd like a little more curvature over here. That is almost serviceable, but I need a little more curvature on the, what I'm calling the wings or the edges here. So I'm going to make an effort here to put some curvature there using my fixture. So for that effort, this is what I got, which is actually really nice. I like that. I'm going to do that on the other side and then test it. I like that really well, how that worked out. So I'll put the camera up and I'll do that to the other side and see how that fits on the 4.5 inch pipe. So I'm going to use this rod. And when I use this fixture, the whole problem I have with this titanium is when I'm using the fixture, if I'm pressing it down and it catches the edge, it pushes the titanium through and then you don't even get a bend. Which is why I made the fixture with 2 different distances. At one point there's 2 1-inch rods right next to each other for like a tight radius, and then at the other part the 1-inch rod is a little more than an inch away from each other. And right now, I'll show you what I'm doing here. What I do is I put it down there to where it's real close, because I'm trying to get a curve on what I'm calling the wing. Get my curve there. Okay. So sometimes when I do this and I bend it down, it works, and another time it just catches and falls through. So let me put my safety glasses on here. So that's nice. Okay, now at this point it's getting too far down. That's too much of a curve. I was trying to put a curve on the edge and now it's got too much of a curve right there. I make sure that the rod is straight so that the curvature that I get is, the curvature is consistent across the part. I'm eyeballing that and it's almost perfectly straight. So I'll bring the camera here. So here it is again where I'm attempting to get a curvature toward the end. And last time I did it, I pumped it down too much, which I thought was going to make too much of a curvature. But then I liked what I saw after it bent back. That's the thing with this grade 5 titanium is when you bend it, it bends back so much. So let's see how much I want to bend it down here. So that is looking, but coming up on too extreme. So that is getting ridiculous. So I guess I'll stop there and test it. Well, let's find out what kind of a curvature we got. Watch how this grade 5 springs back to the shape that it wants to be. It started out as a sheet. So this is what I have here. Inconsistent, possible workable. Looks like I cranked it down too much. So now what I'm going to do is try to even up these curves. Because without even putting it over the pipe, I can see that that's not good. So in order to even up the curve, I'm going to put this in the vise and flatten it up a little. I use this little bar for the curve on the end, which really works well. So I will demonstrate that. What I do is I make sure it's straight in there. Again, this is 050 6AL4V, which is to say grade 5 titanium sheet. I do this and I set it up like this, where it's almost on the very end. And I'll take a video of that when I get that going. So I curved it too much on this side. I'm going to try to undo the curve. Next time I won't crank it down too much. I'll go for more incremental changes. Too much of a curve. So there I've cranked it just about flat. And I'll do that at 3 or 4 points along the sheet. Okay, that undid it. And it looks good, but I can see that the other side now is needing the same treatment. The first couple of fixtures I made weren't tough enough. This is nice. It's not consistent. So I need to make an adjustment here. I wanted to make a fixture where I could just put it in once and get an even curvature bend to it. All right, let's see if I made this even. I did. So take a look at that. So here I'm going to try it on my 4.5 inch pipe to see if I've accomplished my desired bending. Here's what that looks like. Get that centered here. Okay, perfect. All right, good. So I got that. So that's what I was looking for as far as the middle bends, and now what I do is I put a bend on the outside where I want to keep calling wings, where it kind of, I want to say wings up. What that looks like is this. Got some here that I like, where the curvature, the cross section has wings going up to where you get a good curve, because these are going around a bicycle tube, and I wanted to cover and protect the bicycle tube. So that's not even, needs an adjustment. Obviously need it to be even. Even Steven. So this is what I'm doing to get that nice bend. I have the rod, which I'm pushing down into the titanium sheet. I've got it really close to the edge of the sheet. And then when I press it down, it doesn't get caught. I notice I haven't lined up the press there. That's not the best thing. So let's see what we get for that. Now if I push down a lot, it puts a defined bend on the wing, but I'm wanting a more gradual. I can see there I may have already gone too far right there with that bend. Let's see what that gets us. I'm trying to get to where I can be consistent here. I have about 80 of these I need to bend. Let's see what that got us. I like it. So that's a nice bend. Except over here you have like a defined, you can see where it was bending, and then right here it's just more gradual. So I think what I'll need to do to make it match is just give the other side a little bit of a bend there. And I just want to make sure that it's symmetric on both sides. So this is what I keep showing here. The rod that I'm pushing into the titanium sheet is at the very outer edge of the sheet. And one might think that when you push it in, it comes loose, but it doesn't. It grabs it tight and it puts on a bend. So I'll crank this down gradually and incrementally so that I get a curve that matches the other side. This is the curve I'm trying to match. And we can see that this fitting for the hydraulic press is also pushing into my curve. So I'm having to make sure that my press here isn't abusing the work I've already done. So this is what I did, which I like. That's going to just do a little gradual curve. So let's see what we get. Well, it's still not even. That side's nice. This side could use a little bit more curvature, so I'll put some more curvature on this side. That's what I just did. It's not extreme. Not extreme at all. I want to probably push it one more time before I bring it out. So what I've done here is not extreme. I could try it and then see what kind of a bend I get. Perfect. That's what I was looking for. That's the part that I was looking for. It's done. That's nice. That's even curvature all around on both sides. And here I've approved the part verbally before I set it on this thing here. This is the litmus test right here, which is what I was looking for. It's even. The main thing is here that it's even. Just set that on there. So that's what I was looking for. So I just have to do that 80 times. So when I continue on to do this more, I had this other piece here which I had pushed down to a nice curve, but it doesn't have those, what I'm wanting to call wings on the end. So if I can get to be where I'm consistent, I could put some wings on the end and move on to the next part. Thing is with this titanium, I'm not making any effort at all to prevent it from being contaminated from the oil on my hands or the steel that it's being pushed up against. So at some point here I'm going to have to make a plan to keep this titanium clean throughout the process, starting with me wearing nitrile gloves. I'm going to have to go to the store and buy some nitrile gloves. As well as a bunch of titanium only tools, which I don't have. All my cutoff wheels and grinders and flap discs have been contaminated with steel, so I'm going to have to go get some titanium only fixings. So here I'm trying to make this rod go as far out to the end as possible and even. What are clamps again? I've heard about these things called clamps. Okay, so now you see I'm using a hydraulic press without my safety glasses. That's not impressive. So this is what I keep doing. I put the bar close to the end of the sheet. That one could have been made closer. So I think I'm going to make a little adjustment there to get that bar closer to the end. We'll see how that goes. So loosen up the press just a little, and then see if I can roll this out. Might have to actually go get some clamps from the other side of the shop. I want that at the very edge of the sheet. Perfect. I'll tighten it up and make sure that it's even. Keep showing this. The bar on the edge of the sheet. So now I'm going to put this to a certain amount that is consistent so that I get a consistent look on both sides.